What's happening, guys? Rouge again, and today we're talking about karyotypes, and we're going to look at a karyotype of a haploid and a diploid cell. Now remember, a diploid cell, if you remember the last homework before we went on Christmas break, a diploid cell has two sets of chromosomes, and a haploid cell has half that number of chromosomes. Okay, so Di means 2, and haploid, hap is referring to half the number, okay? And then we're going to look at what a karyotype is. So first, let's go over some basic vocabulary. A karyotype is a picture. It's an organized picture of all of a cell's chromosomes. Now, when a karyotype is performed, the person doing the karyotype, they're going to organize those chromosomes based on their size, shape, and the type of information they have. We call those chromosomes that are similar, that have the same size and shape, we call them homologous chromosomes, okay? So a homologous chromosome are chromosomes of the same size, shape, and have the same type of information. When I say type of information, I really mean they have the same genes, and you've probably heard that word before. So what a gene is a functional unit of heredity. That's a fancy way of saying it's a segment of DNA. It's a functional segment of DNA, okay? Next, we need to know what an autosome is. When a person does a karyotype, or when they're organizing those chromosomes for the karyotype, they will number the chromosomes, and there's going to be 23 numbers. There's going to be chromosomes 1 through 22, and those are going to be the autosomes. What autosomes do is they are the genetic information. They have all of the genes for everything about you except an individual's gender, okay? It will not determine a person's sex. Next, we have the sex chromosomes, and we call the sex chromosomes X and Y. They're also chromosomes number 23. So they're the last pair of chromosomes. There's 23 pairs total. The sex chromosomes, when they're paired together, they determine an individual's gender, their biological sex. Okay, so a person can have, remember, the sex chromosomes have to be paired to determine the person's sex. So they could have either XX or X and Y, okay? And I'll tell you what that means in just a moment. And the last word that we got to know is a zygote. Let me get that out of the way. A zygote is a fertilized egg cell. A zygote is the first somatic cell of an individual, or a first diploid, if you remember what a diploid is from the last video. A diploid has 46 chromosomes, okay? 2 copies of each one. So go ahead and take note of this page, and let's take a look at what a karyotype looks like. So this would be a karyotype of a haploid cell, and this would be the karyotype of a diploid cell. And if you notice the haploid is numbered 1 through 22, and then we have X down here. And the haploid means one set of chromosomes. When we're talking about one set of chromosomes, we refer to that set as N. Now, why do we refer to that as N? Well, it kind of relates to math. It varies. It varies based on species. So other organisms, other animals, each set of chromosomes will have a different number. In humans, N equals 23. Okay, so humans have one haploid set is 23 chromosomes, okay? Gametes are either sperm or egg. They are haploid, okay? So they only have one set of each chromosome, or one copy of each chromosome. And it's important to note that each sperm or egg is genetically different and unique. The next video, we're going to talk about why they are genetically different and how they become genetically different, okay? Now, if you look at the autosomes, chromosomes number 1 through 22, they determine everything about you except your gender. The last one is the sex chromosome, chromosome number 23. In this case, that is an X chromosome, okay? Now, if we look at the karyotype of a diploid cell, now that word homologous chromosomes comes into play. We match them up. We match up the chromosomes based on their size, shape, and type of information, aka the genes that they have, okay? And if we look at the diploid cell, diploid means 2 sets of chromosomes. Each pair is a homologous copy or a homologous pair. Okay, so each person has 2 copies of chromosome 5, 2 copies of chromosome 8, 2 copies of each one. Okay, where did they come from? Well, 1 copy of each chromosome came from your mom, another copy of each chromosome came from your dad, and that equals 46 chromosomes total. All the chromosomes that make you, that make your body, those are called somatic cells or body cells. And if we look at the autosomes, 1 through 22, we look at the chromosomes, the sex chromosomes, number 23, you can tell that each autosome is homologous. They're the same size, same shape, but when we look at the sex chromosomes, they're not. These ones are not homologous. The X and Y, they are not homologous, okay? And we'll get into the difference between the X and Y chromosome later. Now, if a person inherits an XX chromosome, so 2 of these big ones, 2 of those big chromosomes, that would be a genetic female. If somebody inherits an X and a Y, the Y chromosome is this rinky-dink little chromosome right here. That would be a genetic boy, okay? So, why is this important? The number of chromosomes. Well, when you look at fertilization, an egg cell has 23, okay? A sperm cell has 23, haploid and haploid. When they fuse together, that makes 46 chromosomes. That makes the first zygote, the first diploid cell or somatic cell of a person, okay? Now, why is that important that we have to have 23 in sex cells and not 46? Well, here's what would happen if sex cells had 46 chromosomes. Upon fertilization, each cell or that zygote would have 92 copies or 92 chromosomes. That's twice as many. That's too many chromosomes, okay? And that cell would not be viable. That cell would not be a healthy cell and could not survive, okay? So it's important to have 46 chromosomes in this first zygote, okay? To do that, each gamete has to have 23 and 23 to equal 46. Let's go over a little bit of practice, and we're actually going to go over this in class tomorrow as well, but here's a heads up. So I'm going to give you a cell type, human heart cell. Now, how many chromosomes would that have? Well, that's a body cell. That's a cell that makes your body. So that would be 46 chromosomes. Would that be an example of a haploid or diploid cell? That would be an example of a diploid. Would that be a somatic cell or a gamete? That would be an example of a somatic cell. What about a sex cell? How many chromosomes would that have? A sex cell would have 23. Would that be an example of a haploid or diploid? Well, that has half the number, so that would be a haploid. And is that a somatic cell or a gamete? That would be a gamete. Okay? We'll go over a little more of this practice tomorrow in class or Monday in class, and I will catch you all next time. Peace.